We're here with Ed Coan, the best powerlifter of all time, undoubtedly the GOAT. So, welcome aboard, Ed. And I'm
Thanks,
gonna
buddy.
I'm gonna have some questions for you. So, a little bit of biographical stuff to start off with, like age, weight, kind of,
Sure. 55.
hmm
I'll be 56 at the end of July. Uh, Weight right now is I started to watch my carbs more because I don't have the energy requirements that I used to. Here I was, I've been more on a vertical diet like Stan because I've done some
Sure.
traveling with him, and we just started talking more and more. And our last trip when we were in Switzerland, he just said, "No, just taking a little more protein, keep your carbs lower." Only because of that. You don't have the energy, output that you used to. And I started doing that, but I started watching it a little too close. All of a sudden, I was 214 yesterday morning, but I felt small and weak. So I'll add in a little bit of carbs, get up to 218, and then start to try to play it and monitor it. And it just may be smaller meals, an extra meal, but smaller and a little more often. So I place them like that. But it's all carbs. I think at the end of the day, it's calories in, calories out.
Yeah, for sure.
And someone asked me about intermittent fasting. I said, well, you know what? Last night I had meat and something at 9:30, and I didn't eat the following morning till 8:30. So there's 11 hours of intermittent fasting right there.
Totally. Yeah. I mean,
So
I was up at 4 a.m. today, worked out at like 10, and didn't eat till lunchtime. So I guess I kind of intermittent fasted by
yeah, it
default.
is. I think if you do it during the daytime when your body's used to
Yeah.
eating, it would be a lot harder because of the energy output.
Yeah.
But if you eat enough fat and have a little bit of reserve from the day before, I think it's perfectly fine. And it's that's like 11 hours or anywhere from 8 to 11 or 12 hours that you're not taking in any calories.
For
So
sure.
of course you're gonna lose weight. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. Especially when people do like 16 and stuff.
Yeah, but everyone just wants to make up cool new terms
Yeah.
for stuff that everyone's been doing and claim it as their own.
Yeah, because keto's a lot cooler than Atkins, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Paleo, then this, then that. It's whatever works and gets you there. As long as I did a podcast with Sean Baker, the
Okay.
carnivore doctor,
Yeah.
and I told him how Stan does it. He says there's good, there's better, there's best. I try to stay a little bit towards the high end of better.
hmm
I don't want to be best because I'll go crazy. It'll be like I'm competing again, or I'm going in some bodybuilding contest or fitness show or a big power contest. I don't need all that anymore. So if I do that, the risk of cheating and going off it are less, and it's easier for me to stay long term on just being better.
For sure.
Yeah.
So what got you into on a power? What kind of got you interested and got you started in powerlifting?
Well, I tried to be Arnold after meeting Arnold. And then I realized how tall Arnold was when I met him in person. I was like, oh, damn it. My head was right at his
Yeah.
chest. And so I tried to be Franco. And because Franco was more strong and he was short.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I could do that. And then I saw Kaz lift on TV when they used to have our nationals, USPF nationals on TV.
hmm
And I started thinking to myself, well, if I can be that big and that strong, not have to diet as much, being able to lift heavy like I want and not have to wear those little shorts on stage and pose, that would be perfect. Bingo.
There you
Got my
go.
sport. And then I just started from there.
And how old were you right then?
Um, Probably about almost 15.
Okay. And so what are your best lifts in the competition in the gym as well?
In
I
a
know. You,
competition, yeah, I a 10-19 squat in competition. That was the walked out kind.
yep.
And I had done a 10:38 and won a Kieran Kidder's WPO meet, but I know I cut it an inch, so I don't count it because to me it's now. I took the money, of course.
Yeah.
Call me a hypocrite, but
Well, it's not like other people weren't squatting.
yeah, but I admit it, so I don't count it.
Okay.
And my best benching competition I think was just 578, and that was the old style Inzer blast shirts that you got like 15 pounds out of
You
or
had a
something.
551 too raw.
Yeah, I
220.
did a 545 raw
Okay, 541.
at
Excuse me.
220 and a full meet with 2 hour weigh-ins in the IPF, and that was I think I did a 960 something squat, and that was without a squat bar, and a 901 deadlift at contest without a deadlift bar. So that's like the meet I'm famous for that I'm most proud of.
That's Dallas 91.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So,
Um, and like I said, my best deadlifting comp was 901. I was more efficient, and I didn't have really any injuries to my lower body at that time, so I could still do sumo real hard.
mhm.
I had gone up a weight class just so I could squat over 1,000 without less risk of injury, and I did an 887 conventional pretty easy. I could have pulled over 9 that day, but my first object was to get the highest total, and the highest total was by like Anthony Clark or Dave Passanella at the time as 2458.
Mhm.
And I wanted to have the highest total in the world regardless of weight class. So I did 2463.
And what? So the highest at that time of like a stricter standards was still been Kaz at 24, 25.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. But I was driven by just trying to be the best I could be. Didn't care about weight classes or anything like that. It wasn't a good meet unless I fulfilled what I knew I could do.
So you weren't cutting weight to go to make these lifts or anything.
To 220, I think I weighed like 229 or something, and I just dropped a few.
Okay, but that's a 2 hour weigh-in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that's sort of an interesting point because I wanted to ask you about your ascent through the weight classes because I think you did it right and like because I personally, if I could do it over again starting off, I think I gained weight too quick because I just when I was training with Steve Hall, he just was like all about
Yeah. Milk and donuts.
milk and donuts. He used to drink a quart of cream a day and eat like a bunch of Snickers bars all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like that's
we
kind of
just
how
didn't know.
yeah, and so he's like always like bigger's better. Where I wish I would have
Yeah.
taken more like you did, and you filled out. So you think
Well,
the
I was
timing
kinda-
was right with how you did it, or
Yeah, I'm smaller. I'm
Mhm.
smaller boned.
yeah,
I'm short.
hmm
So I'm lucky that I was like that because I didn't gain weight as easy as someone like you,
hmm
who's a lot bigger and thicker in the joints.
yeah,
So for you, it was easier to gain weight. I mean, there was a time when you were at your biggest that you were just like the most monstrous youngest kid in the world.
yeah,
So it's not like it didn't work for a purpose,
sure,
and you made it work because you didn't settle for mediocrity at all. You said, how can I get better?
sure.
And you thought up ways.
And so
That's yeah.
with you, so what you like, kind of like maximizing in each weight class? How did you? I guess what I'm trying to say is, how did you know when it was time to go? Because I think you kind of played it like perfectly.
Yeah,
That's why I'm curious.
When I felt it was too dangerous. Like at 81, I would weigh a little over 200 and drop 20 pounds or so. And then all of a sudden, 2 days later, I was back up to 205 after the Nationals in 84. And I was like, oh no, there's no way. There's no way. I'll just go at 198 now. And then at 98, when I got to be in the higher teens,
hmm
like I think I only weighed 218. I really didn't. I didn't weigh 229 to drop to 220 in that meet. I weighed like just straight 218 to 18 and a half. I weighed in at. So when I got up to the higher teens, I was like, 198 is I'm freaking. That's when I used to visit Sal all the time,
Yeah,
and my body fat was less than 10% just walking around. And Sal's like, you got to go up and weight. You're going to get hurt. And so I went up and weight. I took advice of some really good people.
yeah.
I was a kid.
How old were you when you go out to Santa Barbara all the time?
What was that? The early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who were to speak of that? Who were some of the more influential people besides Kaz and stuff getting you into Fred Hatfield? Yep.
Yeah. When I used to have a contract with Weeder, Fred's the one that got me the contract.
Okay.
He said, "This is Eddie. This is what you're going to do. Joe's going to call you." I said, "Joe Weeder's going to call me?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Okay, about what?" Well, he wants you to do an ad for him. It's just about one of the little leather old school belts, but he's going to put your picture on the box with a quote, and you're going to be in every Sport Mart, which ended up being Sports Authority,
Okay.
in the whole country.
Yeah.
He goes, "Just give him a 2-3 grand and get your foot in the door. Trust me." So I did, and then all of a sudden, Joe wanted you for a monthly stipend every month to put you on a year-long contract every year.
That's
And
cool.
Joe started flying me out there. I stayed with Fred all the time and learned all my Fredisms and
Yeah.
joked around a lot and had fun and learned. And he was really, really responsible. Him and Doug Furnas showed me how to set up a training cycle. And then I watched. Fred was the first one with the. It was actually the Hatfield squat bar,
Hmm.
not the safety squat bar at first. The company came to Fred and they named it the Hatfield squat bar. So he was the first one that was using that thing.
Yeah.
And I think I saw him like triple 850 in his garage with no spotters, and it was pretty cool. And and then and Fred would always teach me without teaching me. I would talk to him as he was writing articles. I would just listen to what he said. When we bullshitted, there was always little hidden meanings that you
Sure.
had to decipher that you didn't know till after you got away from him.
Yeah. That's
So yeah, those two, and like I said, Doug Furnas. Doug Furnas taught me the simplicity of training, and it goes back to something I always say that Albert Einstein had a quote that went. I don't know if it's exact or paraphrasing, that there's genius in simplicity. So if you have a totally crazy routine that you have to use all these mathematical equations on in a calculator, it's too difficult. The
yeah.
genius part is only the part where you pick your numbers, pick your exercises, and learn your technique. That's more than enough you got going for it. The rest of your routine should be fairly simple. What sets and reps, write it all out beforehand. What exercise do I know for my body type or where my
Hmm.
sticky points out will I know that work? And I wrote all my sets, reps, and weights for every single exercise I did in the training cycle out beforehand, and I never really ever missed.
So
So it
is
was all done.
pushing the assistance exercise. It wasn't like you just took the regular lift seriously. You like
No,
if
all my big compound assistance exercises were almost cycled just like a regular training cycle. And I adapted to it because I made my body. But I started at the very beginning with lightweight and just slowly moved up. Well, as I tell people, if you do 4 or 5 training cycles like that a year and you pick all the right numbers for all these exercises, um, at the end of just 3 years, what are you going to look like?
oh for sure.
A beast.
Hmm.
What are you going to feel like? A beast. You're going to have chunks of muscle and strength everywhere that complement each other, and at the same time, you're going to have this muscle suit of armor that can't be penetrated by anything. And I just kept doing that. It worked, so I never changed. I kept doing it because I made it work. I picked the right numbers and exercises all the time. I never overshot my numbers because
Yeah.
I knew that would mess up the end. That's why a lot of people do now is they push their central nervous system, or their, like, my T goes by the what RPEs and stuff.
Yeah.
If you push that too high, it messes up the outcome in the long run. So it's harder to pick your peak, or you may just screw it all up
Well,
or get hurt.
well, yeah, it's interesting about you picking those numbers. That's why that's obviously part of the reason you had such good meets is because you have to hit those weights. It's like, okay, dog's up barking all night. It's not like, oh yeah, the RP's 8 today, so I'm gonna do 20, 50 pounds
No,
less. It's no, I'm hitting that number come hell or high water, and I
no
can't
doubt.
miss. And I think that's the game day performance right there. Because I mean, if you start going just purely off RPE, there are people that are overly aggressive, and there are people that are pussies. I
Yeah,
mean,
you gotta be
yeah.
you gotta be really, really smart
Hmm.
and have a grip on your ego.
Yeah, self awareness.
Yeah. So what I did is at the same time, since I did that all the time and did it right for me
Hmm.
with the right numbers and stuck to it, every time I made attempts in every single exercise, what did I develop? Positive mental mindset.
Yes, because you're hitting it over and over. It's like
Over and over.
it's
If
expectation.
yeah, if I were to keep missing,
Hmm.
how do you build a positive mindset? You could set everything up at the beginning of the workout. Okay, I ate, I slept, I did some mobility work, I what I got my spotters, I'm getting my game face on. But if you miss, you just bring yourself back down where you got a negative. I set it up every time to be positive. So every time I walked up to the weight, I knew I was going to get it. Mentally, I was right there all the time. So it's just reinforcement, positive reinforcement for myself all the time. I taught myself how to be my own psychologist.
And do you think a large part of like the way you did so well too was a lot of the, I think a lot, personally feel like a lot of the most underrated part is the lifestyle. Like people are smart, this and that, but they don't want to take care of the lifestyle,
Yeah,
staying
I
out till
never,
4 in the morning and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, I never really drank. I hated going out late. Um, we didn't know as much about diet then, so as I was in a weight class, I could judge my body weight by the scale, and then look in the mirror,
Hmm.
and then I could see how do I feel during my workout, and I could adjust little things accordingly. Every night before I went to bed, it was carnivore diet. It was just big chunks of meat before I went to bed. And I woke up in the morning, felt like I could bench 500 all tight, and
Yeah.
everything felt great. I slept better, and then if I had shit for breakfast, it didn't matter because it didn't matter because the rest of my night before that was perfect, and I was young.
Yeah. Well, what I thought was interesting too is so the kind of like a little backstory here is the way Ed helped me set up a number of training cycles when I was powerlifting. But so I got his phone number, started calling him up all the time, harassing him. At first,
Yeah, Anthony Aria gave me my
yeah.
phone number off Sal's Rolodex at the time.
At first, it was more just fanfare, but then once I started to learn more, what I liked at the time was I felt like in that era of powerlifting, there was so much bad information of like, when you squat, you got to sit your ass back so far, or way
Yeah.
over arch it, or like pecs don't matter in the bench press, quads are bullshit, and
Holy
like
shit.
you were like the
Yeah.
only person of any like stature that I'm like, no, I mean, I'm not like a exercise scientist at this point or anything, but I could just tell that it wasn't making sense. And like, you kind of never seemed to, an independent
It's like
thinker.
why don't I want my pec strong with my tricep and my legs
Yeah,
and my
exactly.
shoulders?
You were like an independent thinker, so I was wondering like how you kind of like. I mean, it's just like you never seemed to get influenced by any of those kind of like fads or anything.
Because what I was doing was working.
Yeah,
So I just stayed in my own game. I mean, my ADD kept me in my own little plane of thought where I was comfortable, and I stayed there.
so there was like for you, there's no like allure to ever like wanting to go to like a the more lax federations, things like that or anything.
No, I did go, in the WPO meet
Well,
that
yeah, I
time.
mean, you go in 25 grand or something. I mean,
Yeah, I did go in the. Yeah, I got my
I mean,
military.
it's what I'm saying. So it's not like that's a little understandable.
Yeah, and I went the APF at its inception, um, before any of the multiply gear and stuff, and when we still walked out squats when Ernie first started. I really liked it. But then the multiply game, it just wasn't for me. I didn't feel right doing it.
Did it was,
I definitely didn't want to stick 800 pounds over my face benching with a double bench shirt. I was like, no, it just didn't feel right for me. Other people love it. Go ahead. Fucking all the power to you. It just wasn't my thing. Just wasn't my thing.
and so were you part of the original inception of the APF in the hotel room, that meeting or whatever,
Well,
1988?
in '85, well, before '85, Ernie actually started like the AMPF for masters, just for
Okay.
masters. And then after the '85 nationals, when the IPF crimped down on everything, and they bombed a bunch of people at nationals in '85. It was in Chicago. That's when a bunch of the bigger, older lifters got together and started the APF but it was Ernie's idea.
How's Ernie doing now?
Good. He's like 85 years
I was
old.
gonna say,
No,
he'd have to be,
I think he's going to have his 86th birthday coming up really soon.
because I
I got
remember
an email about it.
I remember he was at the 2003 APF Nationals, and he was no spring chicken then.
No, no, he's a little bit shorter, a little bit more bent over. He still has really, really great stories.
He looked in good shape in 2003 for
Yeah,
like
he's
70 or
doing.
whatever.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good.
Does he still have a gym out there?
No, it burned down actually.
Oh,
So he just trashed everything.
so what was Quad's gym like back in the day when it was still around and everything?
Well, in Cal City, it was like either you're a cop or a felon. That's pretty much
Yeah.
it. I'm sure you've been in those gyms.
Oh, for sure.
But we had the best atmosphere. Everybody trained together. Everyone wanted the bodybuilders would help powerlifters. Powerlifters would spot bodybuilders, and we had a really cool, serious group of guys from morning till night.
Then on to deadlifting. So look, tell me, I got the idea from you, but did you? So when you're training for your sumo, how often would you do conventional training?
Almost all year round, except for 6 weeks, 6 workouts before the meet. I knew how to train it, and deficit conventionals with no belt is what helped my sumo the most.
Yeah.
Figured that out and worked on what am I weak at? Okay, that's what my off season is. For squat, it was high bar closer stand squats and pause squats like that because my weakness was not my hip and back, it was my quads. So I worked on that all the time. My bench was more triceps, so I'd bench with my feet up. I do more close grips. I do more close grip inclines. I do more heavier behind the neck presses. For deadlift, it was deficit deadlifts, no belt. Then it would be stiff leg deficit
Mm-hmm.
deadlifts, no belt, of course. Sometimes I'd throw in just a regular cycle of conventionals, no belt, and tons of heavy bent over rows with chin ups,
Yeah.
and that was the crux of it. Then all the other little exercises were like kind of like if you turn in a paper, you got to dot your i's and cross the t's, or else
Mm-hmm.
you go down a grade,
Yeah.
for punctuation, and that was the crux of it.
You did a lot of a higher bar pause squats too, huh? Back in the
Yes,
was that
yes,
like
I
your
love it. I
primary?
remember I got you on those.
Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of interesting to talk about. Is people will say like your programming was pretty simplistic. It's like, just basic linear periodization, but it was actually pretty advanced in a lot of ways because if you're taking care of, it's like, the Russians would call it phase potentiation. You're basically setting yourself up for what's next. And so you're
Yeah,
taking care of every loose end. Well, of course you should be able to do a straight linear program into a meet then if you're already taking care. I mean, obviously you couldn't do it year round because you had 5, 10 pounds a week for a year. I mean, it would be impossible. But
yeah,
since you're taking care of everything in the off season, it seems like
yeah,
simplicity would make the perfect sense.
yeah, and it helps because when I do switch the way the exercise is
Hmm.
done to help my weakness, I don't have to worry about my ego because it's not a regular squat, bench, or deadlift. So I don't have to prove myself. I just have to try to get stronger in those exercises that where I have weaknesses, and then it works out even better because you're taking care of a weakness. You don't have to worry about your ego. That doesn't get in the way. So all you worry about is the purity of the movement and getting these muscles and groups stronger together.
Yeah,
Easy.
definitely. So what was like a lot of people watching this that are younger or like don't know much about powerlifting gear because like it's sort of now it's gotten to the point where it's like you bring it up to people and like if they're new to powerlifting they kind of look at you like you're what are you talking about? So what was like for people that do know about powerlifting gear and stuff? So what was kind of the difference in like the early '80s versus to like
Oh, geez, I could put my. I had a loose Z suit that sometimes I wore for 4 years.
really?
Like when I did 1018, I had some little runs in it where it was sewed, and I could put up my straps myself. I could take it off myself and not really even. I would have no marks on my legs, and the knee wraps were 2 meters, and they were like old double gold lines that were cloth like, more soft ones. I never liked the nylon ones. I like to be able to try to pull them myself, and I wrap myself.
So what was like what would be a decent carryover for people like back in a bench shirt, squat suit, or anything?
Um, some people were better at the bench shirt. You know what? I to use the bench shirt and learn how to use it and get really strong, you had to have it tight and you had to use it a lot.
Hmm.
And I didn't like to lose it a lot because then I lost my raw strength.
Sure.
So I kind of like rebelled against it.
I
And
remember that.
so I know I could have probably put on a lot more, but I'm fine with my choices. I was
Yeah.
fine with my choices. I
We,
know I just got stronger. I mean, in the gym, I doubled 550 and I did a pause at 565 raw, weighing a mid 230.
okay.
And with these long arms, that was pretty good. I was happy with that. In the squat, I never maxed out in the gym. I had done 900 for 5 before, um, but I never maxed out in the gym itself. I'd take some
Okay.
heavy walkouts at the end to get used to it, but I never maxed out. In the deadlift, I pulled 900 for a really easy double before. I went up to 890 something for a conventional pull. Uh, yeah, I'm fine. I just kind of saved it for the meet.
Yeah, so you were, yeah, because I remember I told you about like that one time saying like I had gotten up to like 600 in a shirt, but then I tried 555 and I couldn't get it raw, and it was driving me
Pissed
crazy.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets you pissed off. Oh yeah, my best squat walked out in the gym. I did 925 for two with a pair of double gold lines on. Walked
Wow.
out weighing a mid 230.
So okay, so what about the walkouts for training? Like how heavy are you talking on those relative to what you were gonna squat at the meet?
If I was going to try, like I
Mm-hmm.
in Vegas, the first time I squatted 1,003, I walked out 1040 something and held it for 5 seconds. Then the guys guided me back as I walked it in.
So you're saying like if you're someone else is gonna try this, like you don't need to do some absurd like 200 pounds over your max.
No, then you're kind of inviting injury.
Yes, I
It's
know.
not the risk benefit ratio changes really quick, and that's almost I think any exercise, even if you were running or jumping or anything you do, it's got to match the risk benefit ratio. It's better to have the risk down a little bit and do a few more weeks than the risk benefit ratio, the risk way up too high and risk injury. It's not worth it.
Yeah. So what? This is a little to change the subject a little. What are some of the biggest mistakes you think nowadays you see a lot of lifters doing?
Overtraining. How many guys that you see on social media, they're always like maxing out or doing something crazy to a max as far as intensity is concerned. Way too much. Well, they're not all doing meets. There's a reason for that, because you can't train like that without killing yourself.
Well, do you think that's because in their hearts they believe that's the best way to train, or they're just trying to get some decent content for social
Yeah,
media?
they're just trying to get decent content. They got everyone tries to top each other.
Yeah.
If you see one guy do this, the next guy tries to do this for one more rep or stupid shit like that, and it doesn't really. Wow, I got 2 more likes, or I got 5 more followers, or it doesn't add up to dollars in the long run.
No, or totals.
No, at the end of the day, it's, well, what have you totaled?
Yeah. No, I
No,
totally
what did you do in the meet? What did you
absolutely.
do in the meet? There's a lot of people that walk around that go in only specialty meets, but they never really competed. There's a big difference between competing and just going in a meet.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, and a lot of guys, they don't get that nowadays. So I think their end result changes a little bit, and their the reason is definitely different. So the motivation behind it has changed. I like the motivation. Like if I saw someone squat 750 easy at a meet, oh my god, it pissed me off. Even if I was going to squat 150 pounds more or something,
Yeah.
it still made me mad. It lit a fire underneath me. So the next contest is, well, fuck, I got to do this. I want to beat this weight class. I want to
Yeah.
beat these lifts.
Yeah.
And the only way I'm going to do this is because I have a fire in me that was lit by competition.
That's true. So that basically what the social media might be doing for some people is making that feeling every single day, every time you go in the gym, then you just burn yourself into the ground because
Yeah.
you're in a constant battle of
Of
social.
yourself. Now, of course, I could only do what I could do, and I had to get better by myself. But there's that competition lights it up a little bit. It gives you a little bit more intensity. I mean, what would the world record be in a 100-meter dash if they didn't really compete against anyone hard?
It's
Would Usain Bolt have run that fast? Doubt
no,
it.
he'd probably be 10 flat or something.
Yeah, there you
No,
go.
that what? Okay, so what about another kind of I think a concept you kind of pioneered was power building, power bodybuilding.
Yeah, actually, I had an article in one of Weeder's magazine long before anybody else claimed it, and that's what I call it, power bodybuilding.
And but how did you know about that, or like what made you think of it,
I
or
didn't. It was just how I trained, and I wanted to be big and strong because I grew up admiring all the bodybuilders, and then I wanted to be strong as shit but look really good. So I figured, you know what, if I can get as strong as possible and not have a weak link, I'm going to look pretty good anyways.
well, yeah, I think that's sort of another way you sort of separate yourself from the crowd is like how people kind of the trend was for a long time. It's gotten away from that a little bit. It seems like it was just do no assistance exercise. Remember that people were just doing
Oh,
bench, squat,
geez.
and deadlift, and then
Yeah. And then a lot of people can get strong off that for a really short time. but there's going to come a time where the weaknesses show up. Like, I think your strengths are always going to be here, your weaknesses are going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that ever really should change. That's just how we're built. But if your strength level keeps going up for these big, huge exercises, and your weaknesses, you never bring them up high enough, then there's too much of a gap in between there. And that's where failure comes in. Your body shuts down, you get hurt, your lack of enthusiasm, all of it can have a play on you. You're mentally going to be fucked.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because I mean, you remember that sort of a trend for a while of squatting every day and all that, and then like
Yeah.
but then you look at the people who are doing it, like it's like okay, even if let's just say hypothetically your squat does go up, okay, but what about your bench press? What about your deadlift?
Yep.
You know?
No, if a lot of people based a lot of stuff off Olympic weightlifters,
Yeah.
and as strong as and athletic as they were, they didn't have to worry about absolute strength, that Fred called it. They didn't have to worry about the
Mm-hmm.
absolute strength. If they got too heavy in body weight and their strength levels went up too high, it slowed them down a little bit. So they didn't concentrate on the bigger weights. Everything was always way, way sub maximal, and they squatted almost every day because they were either doing snatches, cleans, hang cleans, front squats, back squat, whatever. But it wasn't so high. Though,
Yeah.
if they tried to do it like a power lifter, they would just get hurt and die.
Yeah.
So they didn't do it like that, and so you couldn't compare the two and say, okay, well, I'm going to adapt all their philosophies to powerlifting. You couldn't, just like they couldn't adapt all of our philosophies to them. They couldn't do it either. So it's two perspective different weight sports.
Well, and I think there's a little bit of a thing of like there's such thing as dumb and smart lifts. So where powerlifting should be more dumb, there's not as much skill involved. It's more of an equation of brute strength. Where the Olympic lift, it's such a fine-tuned thing that I mean,
Yeah,
it's like weird because you'll have high school coaches that don't even know how to coach football that have never been in the weight room trying to teach cleans, but it takes
oh,
Bulgarians 2 or 3 years to teach somebody,
with broom handle.
with broom. Yeah, so I'm saying like if it's, that's sort of like the argument against, like it's funny you'll hear people at like say a sports seminar, they'll start advocating for Olympic lifts, but then they'll start talking about how complicated they are. Then it's like you're kind of like defeating your argument because you're going to train like a tactical athlete or somebody how to, it's on a SWAT team,
Yeah,
make them, just, clean a broomstick for, or high school football players.
forever.
Yeah, it doesn't work that
No,
way. But
no, but doing them in a safe manner with light enough weight, if you want to still be a little bit more athletic, is fine. I remember I did a power snatch one time. My traps were sore for 4 days.
how much weight were you using?
286 I did.
I heard you did like a 425 clean or something too. Is that true?
I did do some heavy cleans because my bent over rows were so high already with no straps and not touching the ground with no belt. I would go four and a quarter, 440 for sets of 8 without even any straps. And then Brian Schoonfeld and myself, we used to sometimes have during the training cycle,
Mm-hmm.
we would almost have like a bent row contest
Yeah.
every day to see so high. And we got up in the very, very high sevens for
What?
doubles on bent over. Or I mean, no, I'm sorry, sevens in the really high fives, like 580 something for heavy doubles. And so yeah, I better be able to clean some weight there.
How strict are we talking here?
Bent rows?
Yeah.
Oh, pretty strict.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
and it was weird because we'd wear straps, and um, I really didn't know how to wear straps. So I would put my hands on a bar. Brian would strap me up, and then I would try to learn as we went along. So it was fun. It was fun. It
What's
was
he
very
doing?
intense.
What's he doing now? I haven't heard his name in
He
a while.
he works and works and works, and I know he did drop some weight. Um, Brian can't do anything half-ass. There also is nobody that could work like 80 hours a week for 10 straight weeks and not have a mental breakdown, except for Brian. He
Really?
can work. Yeah, he has the most unbelievable work ethic and can just go, 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 go.
Is he still in the Chicago area?
He is right in Indiana somewhere.
Okay.
Probably safe away from too many people.
Did
But
you?
he's married and he's got a kid.
Good. Did you ever get enticed by wanting to do strongman or anything?
No, you know what? The first year they had the Arnold Classic Strongman, Terry Todd asked me if I wanted to be in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, Terry, first of all, look at me and look at everyone else. And, obviously you look up about a foot. and then look at their weights. And I was like, you know what? I got hurt enough pushing my body to the extremes with powerlifting. I don't need to get hurt in strongman. That's not my game. It's
Oh,
definitely not my game. I'm not going to go there. I mean, I could have probably done like trained and won a grip contest, but I'm not going to be stones or any of these other things. There's no way. No way. You know,
you probably would have. You could have won the frame carry maybe if as long as it was.
it wouldn't even got off the
That's
ground.
the same. They made
I'd have
it.
been, yeah. The and a couple of the
The axle
exercises,
clean and jerk would have been interesting. You probably would have done good in that one because that's a
maybe
because of grip
I
strength.
I could only say maybe,
Yeah.
but I mean I've judged at the Arnold at the strongman contest, so that's pretty cool in itself. That's good enough.
Well, aren't you doing some? So tell everybody who doesn't know. Aren't you doing some sort of MMA type of training now, or?
I do. It started off as a lot of JKD stuff, which was the old Bruce Lee stuff, and then it morphed into more counter violence training. So really, what's going to happen to you
So
in a
counter.
real encounter?
Okay, so this is not like training for a tournament or something. This is what would
No,
actually.
there's no rules on the street, and I really like that because then it mixes MMA with boxing, with kickboxing, with eye jabs, knees, elbows, bites. I'm pretty good with a knife, and I just like it for training, and it makes me move, and I like being able to move again.
And how do you? So how do you guys train that way without like killing each other? If it's.
Um, you just pull it back, like if like
Mhm.
in boxing or MMA training, if all you did was spar, you'd never learn anything, and you'd get hurt. So you just tone it down a little bit. Instead of hitting someone with an eye jab, you'll hit them here. Um, you'll come in and just with a lot of action and slow it down right at the end when you're going to crack someone with an elbow, or when you give a knee to the groin or to the side of the thigh or a kick. You just pull it back a little bit,
Mhm.
and then all you do is drill, 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 drill. If you try to go too fast, that's when you make mistakes, because your mind will go faster than your body. So you got to try to get them in sync. It's almost like downloading a computer typing. If you type too fast, you're going to make mistakes. So you slow it down. It downloads in your brain better, and that repetitive, perfect pattern starts showing up, like walking.
You get a chance to use it? Anybody? Any good bar fight stories or anything?
I'm not in the bar.
Oh,
Where and then there's some stuff that you can go through. It's like situational. It's, well, where are you going to be if something happens? I'm not going to
yeah.
be at a bar at 4 a.m. I could be in my home. I could be in my car. I could be in a parking lot, in a grocery store. I could be in the gym.
Yeah.
So your surroundings dictate a lot of times what really is going to happen. But it makes you aware. Like you have a different situational awareness when you start doing it for a while. So I'll be walking around and I'll be looking at people and I'll be
So since
blah
you've
blah.
taken that up, you notice you're like looking around the situations more.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
And like I asked the guy that trains me, who's a real old school guy, and I said, how will I know what to do? And this is years ago. And he goes, the altercation is always going to dictate what you do. You can't just plan on it, but you could be trained to do many, 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 many things in different circumstances. But that circumstance is going to dictate what your first couple move is. And they call that, what's your flinch response? Everybody is going to flinch, but it's what you do with that response right afterwards that makes someone who's trained and someone who's not trained. If you just go like this and stay there after getting hit, well, they're going to hit you 5 more times and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
But if you move a certain way, throw up that elbow, block, whatever, and then you move, and now you're set up to respond.
Yeah.
So it's a counter violence. You come at them with the harder violence they came at you at, and now all of a sudden what you did is you changed their intent. Their intent first was to destroy you. They've got the upper hand already because they know they spot you in a parking lot or they spot you somewhere where their intent, they already know what they got. So they're on the upper part of that power curve already. You don't. Now, what you do after your flinch response, now you can change their intent. If all of a sudden you come off that flinch response, eye jab, kick him, hit him with a low shot in the nuts, hit him with an elbow, whip out a knife, all of a sudden, what's his intent now?
Definitely.
It's intent. All right, I'm gas station ready, dude. His intent has changed from knowing he can kill me because he thinks he's got the up on me to all of a sudden fighting for his own life.
And so it's basically, so that's kind of, and this is, what's the thing? It's not Jeet Kune Do. It's like a form of it or counter violence.
No, it morphed from a lot of stuff that I learned from Jeet Kune Do into counter violence, which is where you morph everything in together with no rules.
Okay.
It's how fast can I get this job done in whatever way possible? It doesn't matter. You know, if I got knocked to the ground and the guy mounts me, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to sit there and cover, or am I going to try to get away with it? That's when some of your some wrestling background, some BJJ comes into play, some awareness on, well, if I buck this guy up, grab him around the chest, bite him as hard as I can in his chest, he's going to reach down and try to get my hands off him, and I can turn him, I can headbutt him again, I can elbow him, I can kick him in the nuts. You know, there's boom, 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 boom. That's how fast it's going to happen, and that's what I say. You got to change his intent. And I think there was a line in 300. Now is a good day to die. The Spartans were ready to die every time they went in the battle. Everyone else wasn't ready to die. These guys were ready to go into battle and just die right there, give it everything they got, irregardless of their own lives.
For sure.
How many people are going to do that?
Not most.
Nope. So that's where that morphed into, and I like I definitely like the violence part, but I like the learning something new, and you never ever will ever stop learning. And I watch a lot of the great guys. I mean, my guy Mike Van Beek, focus counter violence, and then there's a lot of guys I watch online, a lot of old school guys that were into like how ballistic and quick and violent they were on their action, and then Jesse Burdick at his gym, CSA, where he trains people. You got Kerrion Fitzgibbons, who trains probably the best Muay Thai fighters in the world, along with a whole bunch of MMA guys. And then you have, I was out at Jackson Wink before, you know, that Dr. Bo Hightower, him and his team, Elite Ortho, that treat everyone out there.
Okay.
And they've never had a fighter out there. John Jones, Holly Holmes, all those great people. Nobody of our, thousands of fighters have never missed a fight because of injury, because of how good these doctors are. So I wanted to see what they did.
Yeah.
And I had a private session of counter violence with Greg Jackson, which he doesn't do, but Bo Hightower and my guy Eric from Iron Soul Gym got me in.
Okay.
So we had like an hour and a half session where a lot of it was just talking philosophy, and it was really, really cool because this guy grew up on the violent streets and there in New Mexico, so he knows what violence is all about. So it was awesome talking to him. And I was standing up there in the middle of the ring, one of the fight rings, the main one, looking at all the champs that have been there and stuff, all the pictures. It's pretty fucking cool.
And it's right in Albuquerque or what?
Yeah, Jackson Wink. They have a huge building and excellent staff. One of the trainers I watched there is a guy named Frank Lester. And he's a bad dude. And they actually have dorm rooms and stuff in there where a lot of fighters that they come from overseas, and whatnot here, they stay there.
Wow.
Yeah, like little mini apartments and stuff in there it's like a big communal thing where they all live.
And what's the deal? And like, how long is a fight camp for them there usually?
Oh, I don't even know. I was just
like 8 weeks or something.
Who knows? I imagine there's difference. I imagine it's when your next fight is, then you start training again to your next fight.
No,
keep going.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. This is sort of off topics, but I had this one written down and I forgot to ask this, but
Sure.
This is something people always ask. So I want to ask you this: how do you think weights feel like? Do you feel a difference when 700 is your max on the squat, say, versus 900 when you pick that weight up?
Nope. I trained to get as strong as I could for 700 at the time. As my strength level got better, my mind got better, my body got better. I could handle more. So I could handle only so much before I did 700. I could handle only so much before I did 900. It just kept on. Everything was done the same. So no, it's my body grew. I grew.
Gotcha. And then what about this story about Odie Wilson and you walking on the beach or something?
Oh yeah. Let's see. There was Odie Wilson, myself, Gene Bell, and J.D. Carr.
Okay.
I was the lone little white boy, and we're in Perth, Australia, '88,
Uh-huh.
and we walked outside the hotel that was on the beach, and we saw a cop, and we said, "How far is it down to the naked beach?" And he said, "I'll give you a ride." So Odie is in the front seat. Us other three guys are crammed in the back. Odie has the cop's hat on, turns on the siren. The guy takes us to the nude beach. After we walked through a portion of the beach which had more older people, we got to the young people part, and we're like, okay. And I'm glad it was warm out, let's say. So we all took off our clothes, but as the three of the smaller guys are getting their bathing suits off to walk around, OD had already took off his pants and ran in the ocean.
Uh-huh.
Well, when he ran in the ocean, it was like the parting of the sea of white people. Everyone ran out of the way, and OD's just laughing, running in the ocean all naked and stuff. There's a little bit more of the story, but I won't say. But it was, yeah, I remember OD, and I got him psyched up. He tried to pull a world record, like a 890 something in the deadlift. And he told me to get him mad. So I stood on a chair, and I had to yell stuff at him about, I said, look at the crowd. And you know, how many black people in the crowd? None. Everyone wants you to fail because you're black. And I started doing all this stuff, and everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy. And all of a sudden, Odie's eyes like turned pitch red. Oh, no, you didn't. And he hit me on the side of my shoulders with both hands. And it was like a cartoon where every bone in my body just started breaking on the way down. And Odie missed it. He came up and hugged me, said, thanks. No one's ever got me that mad before. That was awesome. So it was good. We had a really good team. Sal was one of our coaches there.
Yeah.
And we had a really, really good team where everyone looked out for everybody for their best. So it was pretty cool.
And when did OD pass away?
I don't even know the year. I still got a cover of a Powerlifting USA with him on the cover.
I think it was like around 1990, give or take one or two.
That was horrible. See, he was just, I think, a good boy from North Carolina, a really good Christian guy.
Yeah.
And he didn't diet as hard. He started running, trying to take up jogging, I think, too soon. So I believe his aorta exploded. He did a radio interview or something with his brother, and when he came out, he said, "Oh, you know, my chest hurts a little bit," and boom, that was it. He was dead. His aorta exploded. It was just dead, right to boom. No pain, boom.
How much did he weigh?
He was probably close to 440, easy. Cause it could have been more. He was gigantic, and you know what? It was weird because he would have been a superstar in movies and motivation, because he was the nicest guy in the world. And when he was just around kids,
Mm-hmm.
kids would look up and just hug him and try to crawl up on him like he was a mountain. And it was really, really cool. That was not a good day for me.
Yeah.
That was not a good day.
I know it really affected Sal too.
Yeah, it was. It's life is really, really short.
The other person I find pretty fascinating, I was going to ask you about before we get done here, is Doug Furnas.
Like I said, Doug was one of my best friends ever. And from all the bumps, you know, he rode rodeo as a kid. He played football his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Had some car wrecks, wrestled, played all that football, you know, in college, and like since he got old, well, from when he was a kid to older also. And so he had a lot of head trauma, some concussions and stuff. So he ended up getting Parkinson's, the pugilistic form, like Ali.
Yep.
Like Michael J. Fox has the genetic form. So like I think Michael J. Fox had the implant put in, which helped him out a lot. Whereas someone like Ali, pugilistic, it didn't help at all. And what's weird is, you know, Doug lived in Tucson at the time with Martha, and he could go out on a bike ride and ride a bike for 100 miles in the desert not one symptom. But as soon as he got out of that motor pattern, all of a sudden the symptoms would start coming back. He was part of the Legends Institute, the study for, brain trauma.
Okay. That's interesting. Is that one that what's it like? Apparently that's the same way Freddie Roach is, the boxing trainer. If he's
Yeah,
training you for boxing on the mitts, he's like totally
perfect.
perfect. But as soon as he
Yeah,
stops at it, it starts to come back.
yeah. It's the motor pattern, and it's a progressive disease, but it's how slow or how fast was it?
What about in his prime though? He looked I mean, great
Ooh, he was in
physique,
great shape.
and they said he did like backflips and stuff
Yep.
in the warm up room.
Yeah, and a full splits, not the crossway splits, the full out straight splits, and then put his head on the floor.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty damn cool. I saw him somewhere in Ohio once do a dance on the dance floor and throw his leg up like a Michael Jackson kick,
Hmm.
but kick it straight up here and hold on to it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty badass. So he was always a good athlete, and he was the head fullback for University of Tennessee when they won the national championship in '82. I think Willie Gault and Reggie White were on the team, a whole bunch of other guys that were in the pros after that. He got caught up in I think he was the last round of Denver
Hmm.
for tryouts, and he blew a hamstring. So
Oh.
they just cut him because there was an overabundance of athletes back then.
Oh, for
Who were
sure.
good. Yeah. So they just cut him.
Wow. So
Yeah.
what? Yeah. I guess last thing here is what. So tell everybody what you're up to nowadays.
I'm being a lazy prick and enjoying it. No, I don't go as heavy in it anymore. I've had both hips replaced.
Hmm.
My shoulders are pretty wrecked, but starting to get a little better because I'm actually starting to do something about it. Like like an idiot I wasn't.
Hmm.
But my mom had a history of, for many, many decades, of osteo and rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
So I kind of got that. That's where I didn't get my hips from just squatting. It came from that. So it's a lot of light stuff now, but heavy enough to look really good.
Hmm.
And I can lie about how much weight I lift now because I still look good. And I try to be healthy. Blood pressure's good. Blood work's good. Everything's good. I travel around and do a bunch of seminars and stuff. I have some other income from some investments.
Hmm.
I don't have any debt, so I don't have to worry that much.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Oh, we've been friends for fucking 30 years plus.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Since you started calling me on the phone. Josh, what is it? Josh Bryant 457 at AOL.com.
Jay Bryant 457.
Yeah.
AOL. My brother, he gave like someone emailed and asked for a password or something, and he gave it to him. They fooled him like on one of those pirating things. So I had to get rid of that email, or I would have kept it.
Yeah, those were the good days. When you used to call me, I remember that. And now I'm lucky enough where you don't have to call me Mister. You can just call me Eddie.
Yeah, I remember when I first said, "Hey, is Mr. Coan there?" He said, "This Mr. Coan shit better get knocked off, or this will be our last
Yeah.
conversation." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, you better end that shit really quick.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, and I saw you practicing with your new toy from Meridian Defense over there.
Oh, it's a beauty.
Yes, it is. Well, I mean, Anthony wouldn't give you anything else but perfection.
No, totally. I'm taking it out to train with the guy from the SWAT team again on Sunday.
Ooh. See, I'm not allowed one in Illinois because of the magazine.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that sucks.
Well, you can in Texas.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you down here.
Yeah, let me shoot
You
up
think
the-
we can get like 50 round clips if they get a little heavy after a while?
I'm bad enough with my knife porn collection.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But no, I want to thank you and all the awesome shit you're doing. You put out great stuff all the time that's real and attainable. You don't have to make up cool shit for it to work. And it's just when your guys lift the weights, when you show videos of them benching and deadlifting, especially, you could see how aggressively ballistic they are with the weight. And that doesn't come on the day just because you're pissed off and mad. That comes on the training where you taught yourself how to be aggressive and ballistic, explosive into it. You don't need 50% training just to learn how to be explosive. You learned how to be explosive on every single rep by putting every single
Yeah.
amount of muscle fiber into your body into that weight.
It's all
That's
about
the cool
intent.
shit. That's the cool shit.
It's yeah. I'm gonna actually put Johnny Jackson through the ringer tomorrow. He says he wants to start deadlift again. So
Good.
yeah, I think
Tell him to lock out his fucking deadlifts now. I'm kidding.
we need to get. Yeah.
Yeah, and Johnny has like the most amazing back ever.
Oh, for sure. Like, it's a testament
Holy
to
shit.
deadlifting.
And a really nice guy. I remember when he was still powerlifting, and I was looking at him at one of the Arnold WPO type of meets,
Yeah.
and I looked at him. I was like, "Holy shit!" That's all I could say was "Holy shit."
He's real explosive, especially for a bodybuilder, like fast twitch fiber. So when we started training for one of the meets, he said he was going to go in at 242. And I said, okay. And he's like, and so I'm like, how much do you weigh? He's like, I don't want to weigh myself this whole training. I just want to focus on powerlifting. So
What do you weigh, like 260 something?
he weighed 264, like in
Yeah.
just underwear. He's like,
All muscle too.
He's like, I thought I was going to make 242. I'm like, how do you think that? Like, do you see the people that are in the 275s? You're twice as wide as them. Like,
Yeah.
were you being funny or something?
When he puts that different stimulus from just pump
Yeah.
to heavy stuff, his body wants to grow in a different way again. So, bam. That's what I think we could have learned more of in the old days, was a lot more nutrition stuff of what the bodybuilders did. If we learned that, we would have been even more crazy strong, I think.
I think you're right though. I think that the bodybuilders, they've always kind of been ahead of the game a lot in nutrition, but like, it's interesting though with training, a lot of them are still in the dark ages, but they're like absolutely brilliant with, nutrition, supplementation, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You gotta learn your strengths, learn your weaknesses, and find out what works. And a lot of people just follow the same old shit because somebody else did it. If they do one of our a little bit, as some people would think, simple training cycles, but they learned how to do it correctly, they would see some really, really cool growth. And then they start formulating their own. Okay, I like this. I didn't like the way this felt. Blah blah blah. And all of a sudden, it's not a Josh Bryant routine. It's not a Eddie Coan. It's a inspired routine by these guys.
Sure.
Where, like, but if we train them, we can watch and figure it out right away.
Absolutely.
So some people have it, some people don't. But there's always room for growth. There's always room for improvement, no matter what. The only thing I wanted to talk about is about technique work.
Mm-hmm.
And we've worked together a bunch, and,
Yeah.
and we do really well together. And how I always watch technique work was, how does it look and how does it feel?
Yep.
If it looks really good and it feels really good, it is really good. Don't say, well, I'm this tall, I'm this short, my femurs are this long, I measured them, and these guys said this. Well, what's the angle of your hips on the inside? I'm sure it's different than the guy next to you who's built the same way. So your stance is going to be different. Your shoes might be different.
Mm-hmm.
Your bar placement might be different. And you'll know that when you get watched by a coach.
Absolutely.
Or by feel, if you have the feel.
Well, that's sort of interesting thing about, I think what like kind of separated you two was we first did the seminar together, the first one in Austin that one time. I was amazed at how much you'd picked up, and it was like, obviously I knew that you knew, because like sometimes people are just good athletes and they just can they figure things out for yourself, but from the help you'd provided me, I knew you knew more than just like what works for you. But you've had I think you've kind of struck the balance of between, like, because some people try to make things so complicated and they can't just tell somebody like, hey, that squat looked really good, like do it again. They always got to find something just to make themselves, I think, feel important or smart.
Sound smart, yeah.
Yeah, where you did like the perfect balance of like you actually like helped people out, and like that's what I like about Fred too, like straight shooters of people that like you'll tell someone if they did good, you'll tell someone they did bad. It's just very honest.
And then, okay, you did that sucked, but this is what we're going to do different now, and you'll make it better. Some guys when they squat, if some expert trainers, is they'll see someone squat and they'll say, well, you have these weaknesses and this imbalance, and we have to do this mobility work and do these things to strengthen up these areas. Whereas us will say, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to squeeze your upper back, pull
Yeah.
your shoulders down. Now squeeze your middle back and your lower lats and pick your chest up. Okay, that solves the 8 things that were wrong before. And now you don't have a weakness.
Well, it's like your cue that's now been made into memes about spreading the taint. That's the
Yeah.
brilliance of that one is it's no longer knees out or what do you squat, someone's like, what do you do for, break your knees first or sit your ass back? I said if you spread your taint, it kind of just solves that problem
Solves
and make
both. Yeah,
simultaneously.
I
Yeah.
noticed with myself when everyone said push your knees out, is I tried to push my knees out and I felt stress on my knees and I wasn't able to sit back. My knees would still shoot too far forward.
Mm-hmm.
So then I slowed it down. I did an article for Weider called the 10-second rep. So I did tempo shit a million years ago before it was called tempo. I said take like 8 or 9 seconds to go down in stages, like
Mm-hmm.
and you'll get a feel of where you should be each step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get down to the bottom, when you adjusted everything and you went down all of a sudden perfect when you're at the bottom, when you come up, everything is perfect and fluid. So
Yeah,
how you go down dictates how you go up, not the opposite because you go down first.
of course.
So I tried to make that part perfect. So by doing it that way, you could teach yourself, just like in the bench or the deadlift, slow the process down a little bit, and you'll be able to teach yourself better how to identify your own little things. Or if you have a good coach.
Well, I think when you go, because you're talking about the opening of the groin and all that. I was
Yeah.
because before we did this, I did a little googling just to make sure I'm not missing anything that important I should ask you. And I saw an interview of you from you. You were 35 years old, so about 20 years ago, and it said you said something about like I squat from opening up my groin back then, so it wasn't like
Yeah,
something that's
that
been
was at
around
one of
for.
the first Swiss symposiums,
Okay.
I think. I had a fake goatee because I couldn't grow it all in, and probably like a big, big fucking like Zubaz pants on or something
Yeah.
crazy wear. Yeah, I think it was from there. Yeah, I went by feel all the time. I tried to feel it. I, Josh, I used to have routines, like hundreds of routines and numbers and cycles written around the house at all times to try
Hmm.
to find out the right way to do it for me. And I just kept writing it down, writing it down, writing it down. I didn't do it on a computer, um, maybe because I was scared of the computer, but I always like to write things down because it made me remember it in a different way, like a visceral feeling from writing it down. It
Sure.
made me remember it even better. I could feel it as I was writing it down in my body, which is kind of
Well,
cool.
you're like integrating different senses, and like I think you're like kind of what it does when you write it down. I think it kind of like connects the left and the right brain, so you have the logical and the creative hemisphere kind of working together. So it makes sense.
Yeah, it worked really well. And I think that's why, like I said, when we do seminars, we do really, really well together because we think very much alike,
Hmm.
um, but we speak it different ways a lot. And we will get through to people in whatever way possible with whatever cues. Same, different, whatever. We're both always going in the same way, and that's what you want to do. I do the same thing with Stan. And when he talks, dude, you're talking. You and I, when we're running around coaching different groups
Yeah,
at a seminar, we don't step on each other's toes. And then you'll take my group and I'll take your group, and we'll give them the same cues in different ways until they get it down. And then when it comes to training, I say, okay, this is the way I train guys. Okay, Josh trains a lot more people online. Go ahead, Josh, go talk. And that's your specialty. And so you let the other people do their job and what they're good at and identify it and learn.
for sure.
So when you teach people, I learn. When I teach people, you learn.
Of
So it
course.
comes back and forth all the time where we never miss. And then we're learning off the people, especially the difficult cases we have. We're learning from them at the same time. So it's always a win-win. How hard is it when we do seminars? It's like, oh man, the travel, blah blah blah. It's like, well, wait a second. I'm going to a place where people already like me, even though they don't know I'm a dick. They're going to listen to everything I say
Yeah.
very attentively, and they're going to do what I say, and they're all going to get better, and they're going to be really happy at the end, and I get paid because I did a really good job to help people. That's not very hard.
That's not very hard, and we've
No.
luckily anything we've done together, we've always had real nice people that are hosting them.
Yes. Yeah. We get along really, really well. It has to do with us because we're real and we're not complicated. When I get to a place in my room, I don't need a suite with only brown M&Ms in a jar waiting for me.
Yeah, no, totally. There's actually gonna be. I think I got contacted about us doing another one up in Canada too, here this summer.
Cool.
So in Ottawa. So I'll let you know the
Oh,
details on that as soon as I know.
I'm ready.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good. Just I'm really happy for all the success you've attained, and your clients are doing great. Your books are incredibly easy to understand and informative. You could have made it each book an extra 50 pages with bigger words and stuff, but you don't have to. And say hi to mom and dad and your little brother for me. Slap him around for me.
All right, will do. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome, buddy.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.